One night on the island of Sodor, Flora is going to Mighty Mac and Boko's shed for a visit. When she arrived, the other engines were already there. While James was telling the engines a story about the time how he saw a ghost. Just then he continued on. Just then he said this to Flora. "Do you like to hear a story about the time I saw a ghost?" he said. "James," said Peter Sam, "I think you told us that story too many times," he said. "And so Flora has made up another one. Then I will tell you a story that will make your funnels quiver," she said. One night on the island of Sodor, an old engine was working at the mines. While the little engine was working at the mines, he was ready to go home. And it was a misty moon at night when suddenly the engine lost control and crashed in. The engine lost control and crashed and fell down over the side into the. But suddenly the engine lost control and crashed and fell down at the end of the mines below. He was never found again. But many of Miss Jenny's machines and the miners will tell you that when the moon is full, they can see the little engine trying to get home, but he never reaches the end of the mines. After when the story was finished, the engines were so scared and spooked, except Oliver, who wasn't enjoying this. "Pa," he said, "this wasn't a good story at all. It was scary, but it didn't scare me. It may frighten young engines, but not me." And so Oliver steamed away. At the next morning, he arrived back on his own work just in time when Bert said this to Oliver. "Have you heard Flora's ghost story?" he said. "It was cool." "Pa," said Oliver, as Oliver steamed away. Already he kept thinking about Flora's story. Later, Oliver had to take some more flying kipper Oliver had to take the flying kipper to work. Later, Oliver had to take the flying kipper to the Grand Canyon and bring it back, but his driver decided a plan to go pass by the end of the mine. "Haunted mine, rubbish," he said. "It's as tame as a pet bat," he said. But still he kept thinking about Flora's story. But meanwhile, Oliver was late at the next minute. It was 1 o'clock, and Oliver himself was worried that he might not make it in time. "If we don't go now," he said, "then Mike will take my favourite place in the shed." "Don't worry," said his driver. "It's because we have to take the flying kipper back to the docks. Then we'll go home too." And so Oliver didn't want to do this at all. He was just afraid. Night came, and Oliver was ready to go pass by the mines. He was ready for his next job, while it's just him passing by the haunted mines to the docks. Oliver did not like this, but he was afraid. Oliver whistled, and the sound echoed through the mines. The moon was full, and there he was, at the same unknown mine, where Flora's ghost engine began on, at the beginning of her ghost story. When suddenly when suddenly Oliver saw something. He knows that he's already known that there are insects that shine brightly inside the dark, dark mine. But to Oliver, it looks like an unknown engine. Next, his driver exactly threw a rock. Next, his driver exactly threw a rock out of the cab, down to the end of the mines below. "It's the ghost," said Oliver. "Take me back, please," he said, and steamed away. After when Oliver raced back to the sheds, he closed his eyes tightly. "Spooked, are you, Oliver?" they said. "No," he wailed, "I'm asleep," and refusing to close his eyes. And so his driver and fireman agreed to find what was inside the mines. But it was nowhere to be seen and nowhere to be found, and it was only one of Flora's ghost stories. And it was all on Sodor now.